Hey there, folks. Ever wondered what the real story is behind that woman with snakes for hair who can turn you to stone with just one look? Yep, we're talking about Medusa. But here's a twist. Was she really the villain we've all heard about, or was she actually a victim of some seriously unfair circumstances? Stick around, because today we're diving deep into the myth of Medusa to find out the truth. Alright, let's get started. Medusa is one of those figures who's instantly recognizable. I mean, who doesn't know about the snake-haired lady whose gaze can turn you into stone? She's popped up in movies, books, and even fashion logos. But beyond the scary image, how much do we really know about her? Is she just a monster to be feared, or is there more to her story? Today, we're going to peel back the layers and explore Medusa's myth from all angles. We'll look at her origins, her transformation, and how she's been interpreted over the years. By the end of this video, you might just see Medusa in a whole new light. First things first, let's travel back to ancient Greece. Before all the monster stuff, Medusa was actually, wait for it, a beautiful maiden. Yes, you heard that right. Medusa was renowned for her stunning beauty, especially her gorgeous hair. She was so admired that she became a priestess in the temple of Athena, dedicating her life to the goddess of wisdom and war. Quite the opposite of a monster, right? Now, Medusa wasn't an only child. She had two sisters, Steno and Euryale, and together they were known as the Gorgon sisters. But here's where it gets interesting. While her sisters were immortal beings with monstrous features from birth, Medusa was the only mortal and was originally depicted as beautiful. Talk about being the odd one out in the family. Imagine the family reunions. Hey sis, still mortal? Yeah, tough break. Now, let's get into the event that changed everything. One day, while Medusa was attending her duties in Athena's temple, she caught the eye of Poseidon, the god of the sea. Depending on which version of the myth you read, because ancient stories love their variations, Poseidon either seduced or assaulted Medusa right there in the sacred temple. Either way, it's not cool, Poseidon. This act was a huge violation, not only against Medusa but also against Athena's sacred space. So how did Athena react? Instead of directing her anger at Poseidon, she turned her wrath on Medusa. Harsh, right? As punishment, Athena cursed Medusa by transforming her beautiful hair into venomous snakes and making her face so terrifying that anyone who looked at her would turn to stone. But was this curse purely a punishment, or was there more to it? Some interpretations suggest that Athena was, in a twisted way, giving Medusa the power to protect herself from future harm. Others see it as an example of victim blaming. Either way, Medusa's life was forever changed. Medusa's story doesn't just end with her transformation. Over the centuries, she's become a powerful symbol representing various themes. For many, she's the embodiment of female rage, a visible representation of anger, betrayal, and injustice. In feminist literature and art, Medusa has been reclaimed as a symbol against victim blaming and misogyny. Her narrative resonates with those who have been wronged and then punished for actions beyond their control. It's a theme that's, unfortunately, still relevant today. Psychologists have also taken an interest in Medusa. Sigmund Freud, for example, interpreted her as a symbol of the castration complex, representing deep-seated fears and anxieties. While we won't dive too deep into Freud's theories here, it's clear that Medusa's image has had a significant impact beyond just mythology. Enter Perseus, the classic hero of Greek mythology. King Polydectes wanted to get rid of Perseus, who was protective of his mother, Danae. So, the king sent Perseus on what he thought was an impossible mission: to slay Medusa and bring back her head. Talk about setting someone up for failure. But Perseus had some divine help. The gods favored him and equipped him with special items. Hermes gave him winged sandals for flight and a magical sword. Hades provided a helm of invisibility, and Athena gifted him a reflective shield. With these tools, Perseus set out to face Medusa. Using the reflective shield to avoid looking directly at Medusa, Perseus was able to approach her while she slept. Then, with one swift move, he beheaded her. It's a heroic feat in the myth, but when you consider Medusa's backstory, it adds a layer of complexity to the tale. But the story doesn't end there. From Medusa's blood sprang Pegasus, the winged horse, and Chrysaor, a giant wielding a golden sword, both children of Poseidon and Medusa. Talk about an unexpected twist. Perseus didn't just dispose of Medusa's head. He used it as a powerful weapon, turning his enemies to stone whenever necessary. Eventually, he gave the head to Athena, who placed it on her shield, known as the Aegis. This symbol, called the Gorgonian, was believed to ward off evil and was used extensively in ancient Greek culture as a protective amulet. Funny how the image of someone cursed became a symbol of protection. Medusa's image has been a popular subject in art throughout history. In ancient Greece, she was often depicted with a terrifying face, complete with fangs and a protruding tongue. Not exactly Instagram-ready. During the Renaissance, artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Caravaggio reinterpreted Medusa's image, blending beauty and horror to capture her tragic story. Caravaggio's Medusa head is particularly famous, showing a realistic portrayal of her severed head with a look of shock and pain. In modern times, Medusa continues to inspire. She's appeared in novels, movies, and even as the logo for Versace, symbolizing allure and power. Her story's enduring presence in art and culture shows just how impactful her myth remains. So, why does Medusa still matter? Well, her story resonates with contemporary themes of injustice, victim blaming, and the misdirected punishment of the vulnerable. She's become a symbol of resistance, especially within feminist movements, representing the fight against systemic oppression. Medusa challenges us to think about how society treats those who've been wronged. Her myth prompts discussions about justice, accountability, and the consequences of misplaced blame. It's fascinating to see how an ancient story can still hold a mirror up to modern issues. Now, let's circle back to our original question. Was Medusa a villain or a victim? Looking at the evidence, it's clear that her story is complex. She was punished for an act she didn't consent to, transformed into a monster, and then hunted down for being that monster. Greek mythology often operates in shades of gray, challenging our perceptions of right and wrong. Heroes have flaws, and those labeled as monsters may have been victims of circumstance. Medusa's tale is a prime example of this moral ambiguity. So, I'll leave it up to you. How do you see Medusa now? Has your perspective changed? It's amazing how myths can evolve and resonate differently as we delve deeper into their meanings. To sum it all up, Medusa's journey from a beautiful maiden to a feared monster and then to an enduring symbol is truly remarkable. Her story isn't just a myth, it's a reflection of themes that are still relevant today: justice, victimization, and the complexity of human nature. The power of Medusa's myth lies in its ability to provoke thought and challenge societal norms. She reminds us that stories aren't always as straightforward as they seem, and sometimes, those labeled as villains have their own untold side of the story. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of Medusa's true story. It's been quite a ride, and I hope it's given you some food for thought. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more deep dives into mythology and history. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think Medusa was more of a villain or a victim? Drop your opinions in the comments below. And stay tuned for our next video, where we'll be uncovering the tale of another intriguing figure from mythology. Here's a hint. He stole fire from the gods and gave it to humanity. Any guesses? Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, there's always more to the story than meets the eye.